Glasgow, the dear green place, a city thriving with culture day in, day out, built on parks, art, and most of all, music. Everybody knows the likes of Simple Minds, Primal Scream, Lewis Capaldi, but what do we see when we pull back the curtain and look on the low level? The grafters, working hard to make it every day. What do we get when we look at the lively local music scene in Glasgow? When you take a walk through the ever busy streets of Glasgow, it's hard not to notice everyone else absorbed in their own life. But it's likely you'll also notice some street performers. Buskers are an important, underappreciated part of Glasgow's culture and livelihood, and if we're talking about music, it's vital not to overlook them. From karaoke to original songs, the determination these artists performing in freezing cold, pouring rain, or the rare scorching sun, they can't be undermined. Some are just here for money, but others are here to promote something bigger. These hard workers have lives of their own, and for some it's a case of promoting themselves or to promote a band that they're in. It wouldn't be amiss to make a documentary on street music alone, but here they're just a tier to a bigger, in-depth, wider look at the music scene. The bulk of this documentary, the most lively part of this scene, if you will, the middle. The small bands, the young bands, the ones who just love music and are fighting to be that next big thing to break the country borders. And what better way to get an insight into the scene than to sit down with some local bands themselves and ask some questions. So how lively would you say the music scene in Glasgow is as a whole?
Really good, I think, for a Scottish city. I mean, you know, I know people live in Edinburgh, Aberdeen and stuff, and, you know, compared to there, I think here's got a lot of, you know, good small venues, good active scene, you know, we know a lot of young bands, I think, so, yeah, really good, I think. So.
I mean, definitely compared to the Aberdeen, what is it, Tunnels, one venue.
Yeah.
Edinburgh's got like Sneaky Pete's, Legends.
Leith Arches as well.
Yeah, Leith Arches. But Glasgow actually still has a scene in there. There is definitely a sound of Glasgow, I think.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Even with a lot of bands from different genres, I think you can tell there is definitely kind of an actual scene here.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people in it, you know, so it's
there's a lot of upcoming bands.
Difficult to make yourself known. A lot of good talent out there.
And as some of the bands touched on there is just that general consensus that Glasgow is more opportunistic, if you will, compared to other cities for bands on this level.
Well, I think we definitely know people from Edinburgh who come to Glasgow a lot for gigs and stuff, but
there's always plenty of opportunities though for new bands to come along, even if you're not from here.
Yeah, I feel like most Edinburgh bands or any Scottish band, they'll play here. I feel like grassroots venue wise, there's so many promoters, so many opportunities where that doesn't really exist. But then we haven't really played anywhere else.
Yeah, that's
outside
true.
of Glasgow, so we've got quite a biased.
That's true. I feel like there are a lot of grassroots, small venues running grassroots events and stuff to get bands.
But the music has to come from somewhere, so it's probably worth asking, is there any in-city bands that make you feel like you can go and be the next big thing?
Kilgore.
Yeah,
They're really good.
I'm a big fan of Biffy Clyro as well.
Yeah, I love Biffy Clyro, like all my heart. I'm going to say him at Transmit.
San Jose.
Yeah, San Jose, yeah, 100%.
I quite like
Scotch
Simple Minds. I think like their first few albums, they're like really tight together,
Yeah.
they flowed really well together.
I think there's a Scottish band from the 2000s called We Were Promised Jetpacks, and they have one really good like debut album. I remember it was one of those songs was in Sons of Anarchy, and I remember watching it. It's a great song, and then getting the whole. It was like peak lockdown. I'm trying to think the local band wise. I mean, Honey as well. Like I've seen them only once, and I'm super like picky band wise. But whenever I've seen them, like they are very good and like similar-ish to us, so quite like. Almost inspiring to try and like I don't know, take things from their sound while also trying to be a bit different.
Low Tide as well.
Low Tide, they're really good. They're an Edinburgh Scottish like hybrid band.
Still Scottish.
Yeah, it's still Scottish.
Cool.
I think also have seen Crocs and Socks.
Getting all that shit out.
Yeah, getting all the shouts, getting all the brownie points in.
But the biggest question for moving forward for these bands is how much support is there available to them?
There could be more, but
it's definitely not bad though.
Yeah,
like,
It's not bad, it's definitely not bad.
There's like plenty of like promotional companies, like Night Owl, that really help starting bands out on the scene and stuff.
But yeah, it was Night Owl that we went to Liverpool with, and I don't think there's many promoters
Who would?
you can imagine who would actually do that almost as kind of like a, I don't know, quite a gratuitous favour.
I just should have
Back
you know what I
a
mean?
small band to send to another city, you know, it's like...
I don't think there's many people like that.
Yeah.
So shout out Juven.
Shout Juven from the...
B12 good as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that thing we played. What was our first thing? It was
here.
yeah, like this was our first
Dry
time.
Laundry, yeah.
So like McHugh's run like a lot of really good stuff every
Yeah.
Thursday. But then when we started, we just literally sent people like the worst videos that was and they're like, oh, it sounds great. Like, well, you know, I think
We'll
they're
keep you in
definitely-
mind, yeah.
It's quite a supportive feel.
Yeah.
It's not super like kind of gate kept.
But it's clear that some things are just very situational to different bands.
I think it's quite hard to get in like randomers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like random people that are just in the music scene.
Yeah.
You either have to be working with big promoters who have a following themselves. It's hard to get a following, I think, as a small band.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. That's how we kind of feel. It's just a lot of people that come to our gigs are like mates or mates of mates, you know?
Sort of feel like you've got to go around asking everybody, you know, to come to a gig to get anybody there.
Yeah.
You know, there's especially like at this level, there's never gonna be just like people coming in off the street saying like, oh, there's a gig on tonight, let's go.
There's not a lot of promotional support as well,
Yeah.
especially when doing showcase gigs.
So where's next for these middle level bands? Well, Glasgow's musical heartbeat spans across major venues in the city. Most commonly, SWG3, O2 Academy, the Hydro, and the most common favourite, the Barrowlands.
Favourite venue in the city and why?
Barrowlands.
Paris.
Paris.
It's the best venue in the world, not just Glasgow.
Alright, mate.
It just is. Just is.
And while these big venues are suited to the international arts and styles, they're not exactly deprived of local talent. Staying on the Barrowlands, English rock giants UM86 recently went on their final UK headline tour ever, and supporting them in Glasgow in the Barrowlands, they brought Keep Quiet, who are from Glasgow, and Excerpts, who are from Aberdeen. And it's worth mentioning at this gig, UM86 did say that the Barrowlands to them was bigger than playing Wembley.
And this next song is for our people in Glasgow. So Ed, can you turn the lights on please? I want to see all of them if I can.
But even looking further back, in December, Slipknot went on a 25th anniversary tour of their debut album, and the metal giants brought Bleed From Within with them. Bleed From Within are a local band to Glasgow / East Kilbride, and for them this was their first ever time playing the Hydro, and it was totally sold out. No matter how you put it, it can't be understated how massive Glasgow is for music. And that's for local bands on a low level, or bigger bands try to get out there who end up having to come back around with a bigger headline act. We've talked a lot about the scene in the bands themselves, but I think there's one thing missing, and that is how Glasgow impacts lyricism and inspires songs. It's already well known that Glasgow's mentioned in a few songs. It's mentioned in Super Trooper by ABBA. UM86, as mentioned earlier, have a song called Glasgow. Another very good song by Lexi Carroll is called We Never Made It to Glasgow. But how does it actually impact lyricism and writing? Some of the local bands managed to give us a bit of an insight on that.
I think...
Very angry lyrics.
Yeah, with my playing, it certainly does influence, I think, how I play. Like the city, Glasgow, I remember saying this to you way back, but Glasgow definitely, see the way it is a bit grimy, I think. Like, it's definitely a bit of a muse.
Yeah,
You know?
it's easy to get out like angry lyrics when, you know, you live in, like, you see some of the places that like you exist in the city. Like, it's like, you know, I'll go home and it's like the middle of nowhere, and then I've just got nothing, you know. But I come back here and it's like
There's blood up my stairs the other day. It's just like blood.
exactly.
I feel like
you know?
growing up here as well, it's really kind of embeds itself in the far right lyrics.
Yeah.
It's one for Josh here.
Yeah, that's a good question because I look up to like the Killers with Brandon Flowers as our front man, and he writes a lot about, you know, like Vegas or where he grew up in Nephi, Utah, and that has like a big impact on how he writes lyrics. And I just think maybe America's slightly better iconography. Like, it's more like, I don't know what it is. There's just more authenticity to it. When I try and write lyrics about places from Glasgow, it just doesn't sound right. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a me thing.
I remember.
I mean, I guess like being from here, it's
yeah,
always
maybe.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing someone talk about Bruce Springsteen and saying and saying that, you know, Springsteen writes about driving off, you know, onto the motorway, you know, not knowing where he's going to go. You try to do that in Britain, you just end up in Leeds. You know, it's like there's definitely something romantic about the US.
And I think like most songs that are written about like Scotland or Glasgow are negative. I can't imagine there's many that are like insanely positive. I mean, the Snuts have got like that album. Is quite all about Glasgow. But that's probably the only one I can think of.
There is a charm to it, I guess. You just need to find a way to bring it.
Exactly. So maybe that's the next song.
Goal. About Glasgow.
It's no secret that Glasgow and music have a romantic relationship, but hopefully this piece has helped to put a spotlight on the low level. A major thanks to all the bands and artists who've got involved to make this project possible. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for the next big thing to come out of Glasgow, because I have safe to say I've got faith that it won't take long.